Two of the toughest cold hardy palms go head to head in my Zone 6B tropical garden. Which one's the real champion? The windmill or the needle? Today we're finding out. Hi everyone, it's Tim. Welcome back to my channel. This week we are doing windmill versus needle palm. And I think that's a great combination to battle against each other and see which one is better. And I'm not going to reveal it until the end. But let's talk about both because they are both fantastic palm trees, especially for zone pushers like myself. I live in Zone 6B. And that can be pretty precarious with some of the palms. And as if you watch my channel, you know I cover a lot of them and I go to extraordinary means to keep them alive. But these two particular palms, I do a little less than the others. In fact, one of them I do nothing with. And that's the key, nothing. So let's take a look at both of them. This is my midweek video, so it's a little shorter. If you haven't watched my video that comes out on Saturday mornings, please do. It's much longer. I talk a whole lot more. I try to be entertaining. This one I try to be a little less entertaining and more to the point. So let's go right to the start and we're gonna go to Trachycarpus. And starting with Trachycarpus fortunei, or in this case with this one, it is an unknown Trachycarpus that I bought as a waggy. It's definitely not a waggy. It came in the mail. I bought it on the internet. But in the case of Trachycarpus, this is a true Trachycarpus fortunei, and it has seeds on it, as you will see. But the Trachycarpus definitely gives that tropical flair, and you get the really tall palm. And these, although this one is probably a good 10 feet all the way up, and that is probably even higher there, probably more like 12 feet now. They're not even my highest palm trees of Trachycarpus. So as far as which palm tree looks more tropical, I'm going to tend to think that it is the Trachycarpus fortunei just because they're so big and can get so big. And these are really pushing it. I'm walking up underneath this one and I can't even reach up to trim this area right here. I have to get on a ladder to do it. But as you can see, they're really grand. And they grow really fast. So if you get a medium-sized one, like the first one I showed up there that's unknown, that came in the mail. And it's already so tall. So these are just beautiful, beautiful palms, and you definitely get that nice tropical look. With the needle palm, you're also going to get a really nice tropical look. And it definitely gives that nice shrub look that you often see if you go to Florida. A lot of the sable minors are really large and line the road in our gardens. And yes, it's not a sable minor, but it has that same look about it. It's just very slow growing. So if you're looking for height, this is not the one you want. It would probably take 20 years for this one here to even get to be like 5 or 6 feet. I could be wrong on that because I haven't had this one for 20 years, but I have had it a while. And it's getting wider more than it's getting taller, but definitely a good tropical look as well. And this one hidden in here among my monkey puzzle and perennials. This one died. It was a much bigger needle palm, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And I just left it and left it and left it. And finally it grew back from the roots. So it's smaller. And I just was watching James Palms in Canada, and he had a palm tree, I think it was a date palm in a planter in a pot that he thought died, but just left it and left it and left it, and it came back to life. And I was thinking, That doesn't always work, but it's worked for me many times. And so please don't just throw your palm away. And I know I did that earlier this spring. I won't even talk about it. I made a big mistake with something. I still regret it. But give your palms a chance. But yes, this is a little one that came back to life. And you might wonder which palm tree requires more care. The Trachycarpus fortunei, the windmill palm, or the needle palm that's over here under my Washingtonia robusta. On this one, I would definitely say the needle palm requires almost no care. I do nothing, I don't trim it, you really don't have to cut off dead fronds. There's a couple over here, I probably should, sorry about the camera showing, but the sun is really bright. The only thing you have to be very aware of is, and I can't even get down in here enough to show you, there are needles on the trunk. And if you accidentally get stabbed by one, which I've done once, it is painful. It really got me. And it's because you don't expect it. On the Washingtonia robustas, you're always having to be careful of these lovely little saws that are on the fronds. But with the needle palm, you really just don't expect it because you don't see anything. And because they're like a bush, all of a sudden they get you. So if I'm even weeding around this, I have to be very careful. Once you do it once, you will never want to do it again because it really, really hurts. Where the Trachycarpus really don't have needles on them, but I will show you, I talked about before, these are too high for me to actually clean up on my own. I have to get on the ladder, but all the seed remnants here really reach up. I need to cut all this off. So that's a little bit of maintenance. And when the fronds die, if you don't want to keep them, then you have to cut them off. Like, I try to keep these looking pretty good, but you can definitely let them hang down some, like that one's hanging down. And some people, I cut them off when they get brown. Some people hang down and they're still not brown. So you just have to decide the look that you want on them. So as far as maintenance, I would say needle palm, the easiest, but the Trachycarpus is really not hard as far as maintenance. And which palms do I get the most comments or questions about? I think it's different from the viewers, all of you who watch my channel versus the visitors to my garden. I think the viewers to my channel probably all have or know enough about Trachycarpus fortunei, and they're less of a question for you. I get a lot of questions about the needle palms, just because they're a little bit more rare than the Trachycarpus, and they take longer to grow, so they're a little bit harder to find, sometimes, at least where I am. Whereas when people visit my garden, they tend to not notice the smaller palms. Like, I'm gonna back up here a little bit. My mule palm, no one sees, even though a lot of you comment on it. My pretty fabulous, I think, Phoenix sylvestris over here, no one comments on. And no one has, I can absolutely say, other than true palm tree enthusiasts, have never even noticed this needle palm over here, nor have they noticed my sable minor that's over under my Yucca rostrata. They all want to talk about the Trachycarpus because they're big and beautiful and bold, and that's what they see. As far as cold hardiness, both are very cold hardy. This one, the needle palm, is the most cold hardy of all. So if you are looking for a palm tree that you don't have to do anything to, and I'm speaking for zone 6 and above, and you could probably even maybe get away with it in zone 5. This one's the one you want. Now, I will put a caveat on that because I did have one die. Well, this one died too, but for probably the same reasons. I had a nice big one with a little bit of a trunk that I got, and it was beautiful, and it died the first year, and it wasn't even that cold of a winter. I think they really have to be established. I would strongly, strongly recommend covering them and protecting them the first 2 years. This one I did not cover. I think I got lucky on, but if I buy another one, if I see another one that I really need, I will definitely transplant it in the spring. I will cover for at least a year, probably 2, because they're too fragile that first year. And then I have not covered these in years. Last year was a brutal, horrible winter, and I did nothing to these. So this is definitely the easiest of all the palms, I think, that are available to anyone if you're in a cold climate to keep. My Trachycarpus, they definitely need protection. You can't really get away with them in this zone 6B or zone 5, definitely zone 4, without protection. You could probably get away with it in zone 7 without protection, but then you need to be ready if it really, really gets cold. But what I do, and I have plenty of videos about it, and I will be doing it this fall, is they don't need the insulation board that I do for my Washingtonias and some of my more tropical palms. I basically put Christmas lights on, incandescent Christmas lights. I put frost cloth over that. I have a structure that goes around, and then another frost cloth goes on top of that. That is just enough to keep them going here in zone 6B just fine. And if you watch my channel this fall, you'll see me doing this. If you go back to fall last year, you can see doing this. I usually do it after our US holiday of Thanksgiving, and I usually open them up the first or second week in March here, because at that point the temps are fine for these palms. So they do require some work, but if you start with a small one, you could do small measures to keep it alive and then kind of learn what you're doing going into it. I don't know if it's really which one is better. I think it's more, what are you looking for in a palm tree? If you're looking for a big grand statement of, look, I'm in a non-hardy zone and I have a palm tree, then your Trachycarpus is definitely what you want. If you want to have just a subtle something by your pool or in your garden that just alludes to the fact of tropicalness, I think the needle palm is great. And like I said, I bought such a nice one with a nice trunk. It wasn't even that expensive. I still regret it, but had I kept that one, it definitely had more of an impact, but I did not protect it the first year and it did not make it for whatever reason. I'm sure some of you have bought larger ones and they've done just fine. Who knows the background on this one? But I do think if you want big impact, the Trachycarpus is the way to go. Even if you start small and learn what you're doing and let it grow and grow and grow, and that might be a really good way to do it. Or there are plenty of places around, at least in the New York, New Jersey area, that will actually sell you a large Trachycarpus, and they will come out and cover it for you for the winter, and then in the spring come take it off. Of course, for a fee. I do it myself, but I think that, and you could learn to do it yourself, but maybe the first year, if you decide to buy a large one, you could have them do it and learn what they're doing, and then you're set. But some of them actually guarantee, if they do it, they will guarantee the palm tree to survive the winter, which is nice. And what is the rating that I'm going to give both of these palms? As far as palm trees go, I am definitely going to give the Trachycarpus a 10. It's such a rewarding palm. Especially if you're zone pushing. If you're not zone pushing and you're, like someplace where they're easy to grow, maybe you might want something more tropical looking, but I just think it's a win all the way around with this palm. They're fairly easy to cover. They're fairly easy in the summer. Just like if you're looking for a palm tree, that's a 10. The needle palm, I'm gonna give it a 10 too. I just think it's so easy. You just need to cover it the first year. You don't even really need to put Christmas lights on it the first year or a heat source. I think you just need to cover it on really cold nights or days. I'm giving it a 10 too, just because they're so easy. I think these are the first 2 palm trees I've given a 10, and I highly recommend both, especially if you're looking for a palm tree in your garden. As always, I would love to hear what you think about this. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you have a better palm for a Zone 6B that you think is easier than these? I know I have other palms that I think are pretty easy, but just for the general public, the general gardeners who've never tried a palm tree, I think these are 2 great choices to start out with. Please like and subscribe. Please make comments. It always helps so much. Any of you know that if you make a comment, I almost always respond and go back and forth, and then people start private messaging me on Instagram and everything else. And I've made friends all over the world because of this channel. So please feel free, jump in, join the crowd, make comments. I want all of you to interact because we're all growing crazy stuff here and it makes it more fun. But this Saturday, I will have another video coming out. It's a busy week for me. I'm all over the place this week, all over the garden, and I'm traveling a bit this week too, so it's just crazy getting everything done. But thank you so much for watching.